Cape Verde. A volcanic archipelago in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, about 570 kilometers west of the coast of Senegal. Across this vast stretch of water, 10 main islands form a horseshoe-shaped arc, separated from every continent by hundreds of kilometers of deep ocean. Seen from above, they look like the surviving peaks of an ancient world that sank beneath the sea long ago. This place also lies along one of the planet's most remarkable weather corridors, where many tropical storms begin to form before crossing the Atlantic. Yet the strangest thing about this land is found in its very name. Cape Verde, or Cabo Verde in Portuguese, means Green Cape. It is a name that suggests lush forests, sweeping grasslands, and abundant water, but the reality is very different. Many of the islands appear as dry, rocky slopes, dusty valleys, and hillsides where large trees can barely take root. For much of the year, the dominant colors of the landscape are not green, but earth brown, stone gray, and the pale yellow of drought-resistant vegetation. This contrast did not come from nature changing over time. It began with a misunderstanding that lasted for centuries. The name Cabo Verde was taken from Cape Verde, the peninsula in Senegal that marks the westernmost point of mainland Africa. Portuguese sailors passed that cape before discovering the islands. In reality, Cape Verde is an oceanic extension of the harsh semi-desert belt of the Sahel. Winds carrying dust from Africa often cross the sea and cover the islands in a faint brown haze. Fresh water has always been the most precious resource for the communities who live here. Only about 1/10 of the land can be used for long-term cultivation. For centuries, drought and climate uncertainty have been inseparable from life on the islands. Before the 15th century, there is no evidence that humans had lived permanently on this archipelago. It was one of the rare strategic places on Earth with no indigenous population. Today, that once empty land is known as one of the most stable democracies in Africa. It is also a meeting point between Africa, Europe, and the Atlantic, creating a cultural identity unlike anywhere else in the world. Ciudad Velha lies on the southern coast of Santiago Island, where a small valley opens between dry, rocky slopes facing the Atlantic Ocean. Today, it is a peaceful town of stone-paved streets and low houses tucked beside a dry stream bed. But more than 5 centuries ago, this place was one of the most important sites in the emerging Atlantic world. In 1462, Portuguese settlers founded Ribeira Grande here. It became the first permanent European city established in the tropics. From a small coastal valley, Ribeira Grande quickly became a link between Europe, Africa, and the New World. Cape Verde's position placed the archipelago directly on the most important sea routes of the age of exploration. Ships crossing the ocean often stopped here to take on water, restock food, and make repairs before long voyages. Along with goods and sailors, human lives also began to pass through this city. Throughout the 16th and 17th centuries, Ribeira Grande became a major transit center in the transatlantic slave trade. From many coastal regions of West Africa, people forced from their homelands were brought to the islands before continuing across the ocean to the Americas. Ships came and went constantly, carrying goods, languages, beliefs, and lives swept into the currents of history. Today, the remaining stone walls still stand quietly beneath the tropical sun. Yet Cidade Velha was not only a place of trade, it was also where an entirely new identity began to take shape. The Portuguese arrived with their own language, religion, and customs. West Africans brought memories, music, survival knowledge, and traditions passed down through generations. Over time, these communities lived, worked, and built new lives together on islands that had never had an indigenous population. From that encounter, a unique Creole culture gradually emerged. The Crioulo language was born as a bridge between many different origins. It was not entirely Portuguese, nor was it entirely West African. It was the creation of generations adapting to a new reality in the middle of the ocean. Alongside language, a mestizo community also began to form. Old boundaries slowly blended, creating a society with an identity distinct from both Europe and Africa. It was here, in Cidade Velha, that the first foundations of modern Cape Verdean identity were laid. Today, visitors can walk along ancient stone streets, see the oldest church in the tropics, and explore the remains of coastal fortifications. The scene carries the quiet beauty of a heritage preserved by time. Cape Verde entered the 19th century with changes that altered the fate of the entire archipelago. As the slave trade declined, many ports lost the role that had supported their growth for centuries. At the same time, prolonged droughts caused severe famines and pushed large waves of migration toward the United States and other Portuguese colonies. From these hardships, the desire for self-determination slowly took root in the Cape Verdean mind. Amilcar Cabral became the leading voice of independence and unity between Cape Verde and Guinea-Bissau. His ideas helped shape the path toward freedom for both peoples. On the 5th of July 1975, Cape Verde officially gained independence after more than 5 centuries of colonial rule. A new nation was born, carrying the hope of building its future by its own will. Cape Verde is an archipelago of 10 main islands, each with its own face, like separate pieces of one oceanic soul. Local people have long divided them into 2 major groups according to the winds that cross the Atlantic. To the north are the Barlovento Islands, meaning the Windward Islands. To the south are the Sotavento Islands, more sheltered from the strong ocean winds. Sal is one of the best-known islands in the Barlovento group. From above, it appears like a strip of honey-colored land floating in deep blue water. Rainfall here is very low, giving much of the landscape a dry, almost desert-like appearance. Yet that harshness has also created one of the island's most valuable resources. Ancient salt pans, formed by volcanic activity and the evaporation of seawater, supported local communities for generations. Today, the white salt fields still reflect the sun like giant mirrors across the hot, dry land. Farther east lies Boa Vista, whose name means beautiful view. And true to that name, the island has long beaches that seem to stretch without end. Many travelers arriving in Boa Vista for the first time feel as if they are standing in a desert surrounded by ocean. Sand dunes shift constantly under winds that carry dust across the sea from the Sahara. Fogo tells a very different story. At the center of the island rises Pico do Fogo, a volcano about 2,829 meters high and the tallest peak in the country. From a distance, it appears like a vast black pyramid standing against the horizon. It is still one of the active volcanoes of the Atlantic. Modern eruptions have changed the island's landscape many times. Yet the people have not abandoned this land. They return, rebuild their homes, and continue life on the fertile volcanic soil. Inside the wide volcanic caldera, vineyards and coffee plantations still grow among seas of black rock. Santiago is the largest island in the archipelago and the country's most important political and economic center. The capital, Praia, lies on the southern coast of the island. Unlike the quiet atmosphere of many other islands, Praia carries the active rhythm of a modern city. Government offices, universities, businesses, and the port are concentrated here. Its busy streets reflect the image of a nation still moving forward. Santiago also preserves some of Cape Verde's deepest historical traces. From dry valleys to ancient Cidade Velha, the past and present exist together on the same land. If Santiago is the administrative center, São Vicente is often seen as the cultural heart of the country. Mindelo, located here, has long been known as a cradle of Cape Verdean art and music. Seaside cafes, small squares, and open-air stages often echo with the sound of morna. This deeply emotional music blends influences from Africa, Europe, and the Atlantic. It reflects the soul of a people who have always lived between departure and return. In the northwest of the archipelago lies Santo Antão, perhaps the island that surprises visitors most. Those who know Cape Verde only as a dry land often do not expect to find valleys so green here. Vertical cliffs plunge straight into the ocean. Winding roads cling to the mountainsides like lines drawn across ancient stone. Mist and moisture from the sea winds allow vegetation to grow more strongly here than on many other islands. The picture would not be complete without the remaining islands. São Nicolau has a peaceful beauty, with colorful villages set among rugged mountains. Brava is often called the Island of Flowers because of its mild climate and greener vegetation. Maio is known for its untouched beaches and slow rhythm of life, almost separate from the modern world. And Santa Lucia remains wild, with no permanent residents. Cape Verde is not defined only by volcanoes, beaches, or islands in the middle of the ocean. The true soul of the country is felt most clearly through its music, its people, and its everyday stories. When night falls over the streets of Mindelo or Praia, music becomes the shared language linking every generation. Among all its musical forms, morna is considered the most distinctive sound of Cape Verde. Its slow melodies often carry nostalgia, longing, and the quiet ache of separation. Cape Verdeans call this feeling saudade. It may be homesickness. It may be the longing for someone who has gone far away. Or it may simply be the feeling of reaching toward something that is no longer present in life. For centuries, hundreds of thousands of people left the islands in search of opportunity elsewhere. Today, the Cape Verdean community abroad is even larger than the population living on the islands. That is why separation remains such a powerful theme in the nation's collective memory. No one did more to bring morna to the world than Cesária Évora. The woman from Mindelo often appeared on stage barefoot and unadorned. Her voice carried the breath of the sea, the harbor, and journeys stretching across generations. Through her, the world first heard the deeper voice of Cape Verde. But music here is not only slow and melancholy. Beneath the memory of Morna, another energy remains just as powerful. That energy is Funana, where the accordion moves quickly, urgently, and full of life. The dance steps grow stronger, and the rhythm becomes more vibrant. There is also batuque, one of Cape Verde's oldest musical forms. It comes from a West African heritage preserved across generations. Hand claps, percussion, and call-and-response singing create an atmosphere alive with community spirit. Across the islands, one phrase appears almost everywhere: no stress. It can be seen on signs, t-shirts, cafes, and in everyday conversation. Cape Verde is a land that often faces drought, strong winds, and isolation in the middle of the ocean. For centuries, its people could not control the weather or the distance from the rest of the world. The only thing they could control was how they responded to those challenges. From this came a calm and practical philosophy of life. Do not rush. Do not complain too much. Do not let things beyond your control take away the joy of living. This spirit is also expressed through another important idea called morabeza. It is often understood as hospitality. But in truth, it also means kindness, openness, and the ability to make others feel welcome. It is how Cape Verdeans build relationships in an environment that has never been easy for survival. That same spirit is present in local food. Cachupa is the dish most often associated with national identity. It is a simple stew made with corn, beans, vegetables, and whatever ingredients are available, slowly cooked for many hours. In a land where resources have always been limited, people learned to make the most of what they had. Every small ingredient has its own value. Every meal reflects the spirit of thrift and adaptation. Cape Verde, in the 21st century, is writing a new chapter, very different from the image of the dry islands of the past. In many international rankings, this small country is often recognized as one of Africa's most stable democracies. Transfers of power have taken place peacefully, and public institutions have continued to strengthen across the decades. Education has also become one of the country's greatest priorities. The literacy rate is now among the higher levels in the region, reflecting long-term investment in human potential. In healthcare, Cape Verde reached an important milestone when it was certified malaria-free in 2024. That achievement came after years of improving health systems and disease prevention. This spirit also appears in sport, as Cape Verde's national football team qualified for the 2026 World Cup for the first time. Their opening match at the tournament left a strong impression on football fans. Not because of the score, but because it showed a small nation standing alongside some of the great names of world football. Cape Verde is also pursuing a future built from the very forces that once seemed like natural challenges. Year-round sunshine and Atlantic winds are being transformed into clean energy for the future. The country aims to greatly increase the share of renewable energy in the coming years, moving toward roughly half of its electricity needs by 2030. At the same time, another invisible but vital resource continues to shape the nation. That resource is the Cape Verdean community abroad. From Europe and North America to many other parts of the world, hundreds of thousands of people still maintain a close bond with their homeland. The remittances they send home do more than support the economy. They are also a lifeline connecting these islands in the Atlantic with the rest of the world. Cape Verde proves that a people's identity does not always have to be inherited from thousands of years of ancient history. On islands that once had no permanent human population, people created a new society through harmony, adaptation, and the will to rise above hardship. From the old harbors of Cidade Velha to the green valleys of Santo Antão. From the haunting rhythm of Morna to the winds that never stop crossing the Atlantic, everything tells the same story. It is a story of resilience. It is a story of freedom. A green cape not defined by its landscape, but by the spirit of the people who made it home.